Tanse, good afternoon or good morning from wherever you are. I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. Indigenous leaders and organizations responsible for the search for missing children and unmarked burials at residential school sites are in shock this week after being told last Friday federal money for search projects will be drastically reduced. Last Wednesday, the Ministry of Crown Indigenous Relations informed Indigenous organizations already in the midst of searches that future funding will be capped at $500,000 per year. The cut is substantially less than previous operating budgets for projects so far, and way less than what projects are estimating is needed to continue work. The National Center for Truth and Reconciliation immediately put out a press release stating a deep concern over the move. They say funding for search activities is an essential part of the debt of justice owed to the families and nations whose children were forcibly taken away. Funding must be determined by need, not by arbitrary formulas. Here's what Laura Arndt from the Survivors Secretariat organization at the Mohawk Institute in Brantford, Ontario, had to say about the funding cut.
It's been devastating for us. It's an immediate 86% cut in funding for the work we're doing to try and bring the children home through our unmarked burial project. I think the most devastating element of this decision is the immediate cut of funding associated with commemoration and memorialization and mental health supports. I think because we're still reeling from the announcement, I'm not sure we've fully recognized the fact that the cut of those fundings means the voices of survivors have now been cut from a national dialogue around bringing the children home. Without that funding, survivors will not be able to come together and have the many conversations that have been happening over the last 2.5 years. Much like a conversation I was part of yesterday where the 400 plus people who attended a meeting with Canada had their mics muted. They've effectively muted the voices of Indigenous survivors across the country.
Late Friday evening, a spokesperson for Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada told APTN News the Government of Canada set aside $91 million in the 2024 budget in the Residential Schools Missing Children Community Support Fund. In a statement, they added, Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada is making adjustments to the Residential Schools Missing Children Community Support Fund in order to take a sustainable approach that provides funding to as many community-led initiatives as possible. These adjustments will apply to new agreements and will not apply to previously signed agreements. The deadline for submitting funding applications will be November 15th. Since the support fund was established in June of 2021, 146 funding agreements have been approved for a total of $216.6 million. Winnipeg police have made 3 arrests in the homicide investigation of 28-year-old Ashley Murdoch, while a 4th person remains at large. Murdoch's remains were found earlier this month. She was previously reported missing just 2 days before. 32-year-old Kelly Marie Croker of Winnipeg has been charged with second-degree murder. 28-year-old Kenneth Walter Young and 38-year-old Charles Harold Wood, both from Winnipeg, are also both charged with being an accessory to murder. All 3 are currently detained and in custody. Meanwhile, 26-year-old Devin Charlie Colombe remains at large. He has been charged with accessory to murder. Police warned to not approach Colombe and to call RCMP or the Winnipeg Police immediately if you see him. According to police, on Friday, July 5th, at around 7:20 a.m., Murdoch was found deceased at an apartment in the 300 block of Kennedy Street. Investigators deemed her death suspicious and believed her body was moved to that apartment from another location. Ashley Murdoch is from the Fisher River and Jackhead First Nation, but was living in Winnipeg. A new healthcare facility has opened its doors to Ontario's Indigenous communities. As CTV's Donna Sound reports, it addresses the long-standing gaps in their medical needs.
This is a new health centre in Toronto. It has taken over 20 years to get here, and a labour of love for Executive Director Joe Hester.
Well, I wondered at times whether I'd still be around to see it finish.
Since the 80s, Anishinaabe Health has been caring for Indigenous people at different locations across the city. Now this facility in Toronto's East End will put it all together in one building, including new services like a child assessment facility and Indigenous palliative care.
It just made me proud as an Indigenous person that we can do it.
The care is all culturally based, with support groups and sharing circles coupled with Western medicine. The organization has become so popular among First Nations communities in Ontario, people travel to come here, like Loretta Panguish, who lives about 6 hours away in Wigwamacong on Manitoulin Island.
I'm glad that I have Anishinaabe Health here because they care.
Panguish has been an Anishinaabe Health patient for 24 years.
I was alone. I felt alone until I reached out to, Anishinaabe Health.
The art and layout are also part of the experience. This painting shows the shaman, the healer in First Nations communities. And circles take the place of corners in its unique design.
We can reflect our culture even in an architectural way that can enhance that aspect of the city.
This is where a sweat lodge will be built as part of traditional healing care. The groundbreaking here happened 2 years ago, bringing what was once a dream to life that will leave behind a healthcare legacy for generations to come. Donna Sound, CTV News, Toronto.
Last Friday marked a monumental day for the Red River Métis. Lands from the historic Métis community of St. Madeleine are one step closer to being returned. At the annual St. Madeleine Métis Days, Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand and Premier Wab Kinew signed a memorandum of understanding to negotiate a land transfer. The former town, located near the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border, was home to about 250 Métis in the early 20th century. But in 1939, they were forcibly displaced as Canada burned the community to the ground for cattle farming. The MOU proposes transferring approximately 100 acres to the MMF. The province will host discussions with stakeholders, including First Nations and Treaty 4, to chart a path forward. Make sure to tune in to this evening's newscast for the full story. Indigenous languages were being taught in a fun new way at the Forks in Winnipeg. We'll take you to the festivities when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back. The Behavioral Health Foundation in Winnipeg has been around for more than 50 years. It is an addictions treatment live-in program. While it's had a few different names over the years, there's been an Indigenous cultural component for more than 25 of those years. And as TR Wheatley shows us, it's a safe space where many people find their purpose in life.
With the sounds of the drum echoing in the back, these men who are out on bail are preparing sage, a traditional medicine used to cleanse your mind, body, and spirit. They are residents here at the Behavioral Health Foundation, or BHF. Instead of doing hard time behind bars, they've come here seeking redemption.
Let it dry a couple of days before we clean them.
Men are usually the spiritual leaders. It's no different here on the outskirts of Winnipeg, where Daryl Desjardins provides guidance to 80 or so residents, most of whom are Indigenous.
I teach them how to pick medicine. Then they ask me what they feel, what should they do. Teach them to do the best for them.
Not all who live at the BHF come through the justice system. Some find their way on their own to this long-term treatment center. Most are here to get sober, while others come to manage their mental health. Angela Anton is the director of Indigenous programming. She's always got something on the go, whether it's 7 sacred teachings, beading, sewing, medicine picking, sweat lodge, full moon ceremonies, and even connecting residents with Sundance. She's walked in their shoes. In 2012, she too had to reach out for help.
A raging alcoholic at one point in my early 20s, and I continued on until I was 34.
Antoine came here after having too many dealings with Child and Family Services.
I chose my addiction over raising my family. I lost everything, my car, my house, my partner.
Antoine contacted BHF on her own as a last resort. She waited 4 months before a spot opened up. She heard about BHF through a friend. That's how most hear about this place, because she says BHF doesn't advertise, nor do they recruit. Anton is 12 years sober now, but she still vividly recalls the day she arrived.
There's 2 chairs when you walk in the main building and they face the doors. And the reason that they're there is to make you think, like, you know, the doors aren't locked. You can choose to sit here and wait to be taken in, or you can choose to just walk out and continue doing what you're doing. I sat there and I bawled my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out because I knew that my liquid courage was never going to be any use to me anymore.
Inside, you do not get your own space. Instead, you learn to live with others.
You move into a room where there's 6 other beds, and you just pick a bed, and that's your spot for the next however long you choose to stay. Everything's taken from you, your money, bank cards, everything. No contact with the outside world for 30 days.
She says you're also required to start writing in a journal.
It's been 30 days. I'm so excited. Big milestone for me. Next thing you know, you make it to 3 months. And again, another milestone. But at that time, you get your 30-day journal back. And you have these responsibilities that you have to follow.
Anton says that people who are serious about their healing usually stay here for a year or 2. During that time, many are taught a routine. Others complete high school and some in search of jobs. She says the cultural component of their treatment helps people find purpose in life, including Kasha Constant, who came here on bail in May 2022.
Yeah, we used to tell people we were twins.
Constant shows us the tattoo she got on her arm for her brother. The two were a pair from a young age, going in and out of foster homes.
I lost my brother, and that's what got me into hard drugs. So yeah, I got into fentanyl actually. That's what, for like a year and a half straight.
She began selling drugs to feed her habit.
So I already had warrants, so I ended up getting picked up anyways, and being in jail gave me time to think clearly. I wanted to find the tools to grieve in a proper way, and BHF gave me those tools.
Constance says the sweat lodge is where she found her salvation.
I started going to sweats every time they had them. I jumped into Sundance and felt like my spirit needed that, right? I've been going, and now traditional is like a big part of me.
After graduating high school, a receptionist position opened up here and Constant got the job. Not long after, she worked her way up to a key worker doing intake and managing residents.
I wanted to be that inspiration to, like, you know, I've been there. I was in your guys' shoes, you know, especially these people from bail. You come into this program very insecure and stuff.
Now that her life has order, she's working on getting custody back of her 4-year-old daughter.
I didn't want to put her through the things, and like that's the thing me and my brother used to say, we don't want to put our kids through the same things we went up to, because like I said, right, we were in 30 to 40 foster homes. It's cute, I'll be at home and she'll be like, Mommy, are we going to ceremony today? Because she does full moons with me now, right? So she knows how it goes, she knows what to do in the sweat lodge.
Teachings not only for her daughter, but for herself too. Constant grew up knowing a life of survival. Now she will learn to live a life of love and purpose with her daughter. TR Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, TR. From Anishinaabe Animal Bingo to Cree Scrabble, a non-profit is serving up fun and free Indigenous language programming at the Forks Historic Site in Winnipeg. Reporter Sierra Bettens has that story.
For over 6,000 years, the intersection of the Red and Assiniboine rivers, also known as the Forks, has been a meeting place for Indigenous peoples in the prairies. Now, Shyla Nimi and the team at Winnipeg Trails are reigniting that communal spirit by offering free Indigenous language programming on site.
It's very important for us to honor that history by gathering, coming together to share, and then just creating those relations with each other, because that's how it's always been at the Forks.
Throughout the summer, Indigenous and non-Indigenous visitors alike can drop by the Forks for free language programming in Cree and Anishinaabe. Nimi is the organization's Indigenous language coordinator. She began learning Anishinaabe a few years ago. She studied the basics by taking classes at a local college and learning from fluent speakers over dinner.
So I've picked up some words here and there with my family. Like you'd hear words like ambe, like come here, or like beka, slow down. You'd hear like small words, but I never really knew the language. My family lived pretty far away from me. And then once I got the position here as Indigenous language coordinator, I was able to learn it more.
On Wednesday evenings, participants get a full Anishinaabe immersion experience. Thursdays are dedicated to beginners. And on Friday, the organization hosts a game night where participants can play Anishinaabemowin animal bingo or try their hand at Scrabble in one of the languages.
So we call the animals in Anishinaabemowin, and people will have to figure out which animal it is by using our cheat sheet. And then slowly you'll start to see them recognize what the words mean.
Focusing on games and informal conversation, rather than taking a traditional classroom approach to learning, was intentional.
It makes it less scary and intimidating. We're not a classroom. We're not trying to be a classroom. We are more focused on community. We want people to come together.
The Indigenous language programming runs throughout the summer at the Forks in Winnipeg. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
February is the Eagle.
Stick around because our next guest in studio is artist and musician Sebastian Gaskin from Tatasqueyak Cree Nation, who will tell us all about having his song at number 1. Over on the East Coast, St. John's 23, Charlottetown 21. Nuujawak 15, La Grande River 11. Val-d'Or 21, Seguin 16. Toronto 24, North Bay 21. Sioux Lookout 17, Timmins 24. Northern Manitoba, Churchill 15, Thompson 16. Gimli 21, Dauphin 22. Southern Saskatchewan, Regina 23, Saskatoon 18. Stony Rapids 19, Buffalo Narrows 19 as well. Northern Alberta, High Level 19, Peace River 22. Southern Alberta, Medicine Hat 22, Edmonton 22 as well. Tofino 14, Kamloops 23. Northern BC, Bees Lake 14, Fort Nelson 20. In the Yukon, Rock River 19, Mayo 17. Northwest Territories, Yellowknife 21, Norman Wells 21 as well. Colville Lake 20, Sax Harbor 5. Baker Lake 18, Chesterfield 18 there. And Iqaluit 15, and Igloolik 10. Our next guest is an award-winning musician from Tatasqueyak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. For more than 6 years, Sebastian Gaskin has been living in Toronto to pursue his musical career. That move has paid off as he won a Western Canadian Music Award for R&B Artist of the Year. He is currently about to release his next single, Cherie Amour, on July 26th, and his first single from that album is already out. That song is called Ghost. Sebastian Gaskin joins us now from Toronto. Sebastian, thank you for chatting with us. You recently had the #1 song on CBC Music's Top 20 with your soulful song, Ghost. Was having a hit song something you always hoped for?
Well, when I first started out, it was definitely, it was in my dreams, to kind of be that chart-topping artist, and to finally get that recognition in Canada was quite cool.
Tell me about the song Ghost. What message are you trying to get across in that one?
Yeah, Ghost was written out of a place of loss. I'm still reeling from losing my grandparents, even though that was like a number of years ago now. And so I feel like now that it's been 5-6 years, I'm finally starting to let go of a lot of those emotions, and I've luckily found a way to do that through song and through lyrics, and I'm thankful that this song has helped a lot of people move through those emotions as well.
You returned back to your home nation of Tatasqueyak after a few years away to a hero's welcome. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, oh my goodness. I was just absolutely speechless. I was presented with a number of gifts when I was there. One of them being the key to the res, they called it. It's this beautiful beaded medallion of the flag for Tatasqueyak. I actually have it here. I'll show it on camera for you real quick.
All right.
So you can see here.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, was beat by my cousin my cousin Ida Beardy. She's an incredible artist, and beat her up there. But she's got this nice little lace on the back too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw your one of your pictures with that on.
Yeah, and they also gifted me with a blanket, a beautiful star blanket that was made by my cousin Jamie Morris. And the last of the gifts, which is just completely mind-blowing, was this billboard outside of the res, which says the Agecoutay Cree Nation, home of Sebastian Gaskin. And and the funny thing about that is that was hidden from me until the very end of the first day of the events. So like everybody in my family knew about it, everybody in the community knew about it. So there was like this sweet betrayal that happened at the end of the day, and it was very beautiful.
What did all that mean for you, for them to take the time and celebrate you in this way and celebrate all your success?
I mean, it means everything to me to be embraced by the community that you were brought up in. That's really all we can hope for, right? To be embraced by the place that brought us up, and so it really did mean everything to me.
You're about to release a new single and album. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Next Friday, I'm coming out with a single called Sharia More. I'm living my pop girly dreams. It's a love song that I wrote on Valentine's Day for my girl Catherine last year, and it's kind of a throwback to a bit of 80s sound. We were kind of picturing like a VHS sort of visual to it, and so it's coming out next Friday.
Can't wait. I'm totally excited for that. And how would you describe the Indigenous music scene in Canada right now?
I mean, it's really popping off right now. There's so much talent out there. People like Tia Wood, Starring Those Res Kids, of course, who are really kind of leading the charge in that sort of pop realm, which is really cool. It's a good time to be an Indigenous artist right now, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely exciting. I listen to all those artists as well. And finally, Sebastian, do you have any advice for the youth out there hoping for a career in the music business?
Yeah, you just you can't really care about what other people are going to say about you, because it's definitely off the beaten path of approved professions. Generally, I come from a family of scholars, people who went to universities and all that kind of stuff, and generally me growing up, a lot of the people who were praised, it was either people who went to university or went into sports, like hockey or basketball or whatever. So just, you gotta do what you gotta do, like don't let other people like affect your viewpoint of your life, and just get out there and do it.
Take our gifts and run with it, eh?
Absolutely.
Well, right on. Sebastian Gaskin, thank you for your time with us. We wish you all the success in your music career, and we hope to have you back soon.
Thank you so much.
And Sebastian's song, Sharia More, will be out this Friday. And that's your midday newscast for this Monday, July 22nd. We'll be back in a few hours for your evening national newscast. Make sure to join us then. Hi, miigwech, masicho. Thank you for watching. Make sure to stay cool out there and drink lots of water.